Our conversation begins a little early today. It's about 6 minutes to the top of the hour. Before we begin our conversation right here with Jeremiah Kioni, Secretary General of the former ruling party, Jubilee, let's take you back to history. Let's pull the papers now, and we have two for the price of one. Let's take a look at the headlines as we try and compare the headlines then and now on the bold newspaper, The Standard. Could we have the newspapers? Right. The more things change, the more they remain the same. And in that newspaper, you will see Jubilee Party. In that newspaper, you will see something about the education sector. Let's begin with the one on the left. May 27th, 29th, sorry. Same date, same month, but a different day. Jubilee members of Parliament, new plot to kill deal on county cash. This was then, and the other headline right there is about IEBC gridlock sets stage for anarchy. Experts and the insiders and pundits point picture of a campaign, picture of a country that is mindless, walking into a dark pit. Right. Plot. All right, those are the copies of the newspaper back in time to the day today on the 29th of May, 2015, and the other one, 2016. The more things change, the more they remain the same. The issues then and issues now seems to be the same. Just last week, if I'm not wrong, the Senate and the National Assembly decided that they were finally going to agree on the revenue allocation and the money that was going to the county, and they agreed at 400, that was on Monday this week actually, 400.1 billion shillings going to the county. At some point, there was a dispute. The same thing, the Jubilee MP's new plot to kill deal on county cash. I mean, the more things change, the more things remain the same. And of course, the issue of the teachers. Then Deputy President William Ruto, if you could just bring them back, then Deputy President William Ruto pledging that he will indeed sort out the teachers. That was also on the paper. Right now, the junior secondary school teachers still grappling with the same thing. I mean, how many years to the date? 9 years to the day today. But the more things change, the more they remain the same. We'll be taking you to the video of the week and take you to Uganda later on the show to show you what members of Parliament on the other end are doing, and you might try and contrast them with what's happening in the country. But Jeremiah Kioni, thank you for staying with us. I know I stopped you when the conversation was just gaining momentum. You mentioned the word fearful. That's a big word. Business leaders from that community are fearful. The ones who played to give some money for Limuru 3 eventually decided no. What is this fear? What drives this fear, and what do they fear?
You know, we now are familiar with the three maneno ni matatu. If you don't agree with what we are saying, we are going to get you out of the country, we'll send you to jail, or we can get you home earlier, in eternal home. You say that the price of oil has gone up, you are told dig your own well. You are told, you ask why is the price of blood going up, you are told because we fear that you may get diabetes. And if you think that is not enough, you can do with, I think they call them gumu. I don't know whether you have ever tried gumu. I listened to Senator Sharagai the other day, and it is reported all over. He says that they now know the people who don't pay taxes are those people from Mount Kenya, and he actually says we will deal with them and their businesses. You hear Ruto himself, Dr. Samoei Ruto says that there is no way one community can be allowed to progress when others are not progressing. All these statements are not statements that encourage you to wake up tomorrow being hopeful. And when that is still sinking new, you come up with taxation measures that are so punitive. Today, I'm sure you people covered Fimal Shah, saying that if we do not address the taxation on edible oil, 13 manufacturing companies are going to exit this country starting July, August. Look at the number of people who have left the stock exchange.
At least five of them.
Very many. And the number of companies that have closed in Mount Kenya, the number of people who are now, if you go through the Kenya Revenue Tribunal, the tribunal that deals with matters taxation, again, look at the number, the majority of people who are having cases there, you tell. There is every reason for people to wake up and think, what is it that is hitting us? What is it? Where did we go wrong? We knew, those of us, we were fearful that things might not work the way they were working before. But none of us thought that we could go down this road this quickly. All those support programs that were there, the bursary that was helping, now look at the issue of help is gone. Edu Afya, the one that was helping students, gone. Leader Mama, Inua Jamii, all these support programs are all gone. And you're now looking at members of your extended family looking upon you to support them, and your business is also staring at imminent closure. You have a taxation bill of about 1 billion shillings waiting for you, 100 million shillings waiting for you, 10 million shillings waiting for you. There are many people. You know, one of the major events organizer during Jubilee and before will give you stories of, he interacts with many business people, and he will tell you stories of what they are going through in the business world in that region. So, and there is nobody who is listening to you. When they come to tax macadamia, and you ask, when was this passed? And your representatives say, the finance bill is like a Bible. You are not expected to read all the verses in it. Those are the people you are relying upon, to represent you, to fight for you, the last line of attack. And they have said, this is not something you cannot do. Then all of a sudden, you see, instead of people concentrating on what is affecting Kenyans, they have their own internal quarrels, unnecessary quarrels. And all of a sudden, again, somebody takes a flight to the USA and says it is cheaper to take a jet than to use, it's like saying it's cheaper to take an Uber than to take Boda Matatu. The totality of all these issues makes all of us feel hopeless.
Is it hopelessness or fear? Because
hopelessness and fear that comes with you raising the voice, with you doing something that allows you to stand out.
Okay.
And that is why when you tell them people, can we then come together? It's easier for people to come together and say, enough is enough.
But talk to me about the fear. What accompanies this fear? Is there consequences that accompany the fear, or it's a fear? Because it could also be imagined fear that if I walk in darkness, someone might attack me. Then there is, if you really walk in darkness, someone would attack you. So are there consequences that result to this fear, or that will be a resultant of this fear?
Yes. If we were to move around with you to these businesses, most of them will be showing you a tax bill. You've been invoiced for X amount of money that you are required to pay at Kenya Revenue Authority.
Because you hadn't paid it before.
Because they think you had not paid it before. You invite them to sit in your office and let them go through the books. They continue insisting that you owe them money. Yet all the books are available for them to audit, but they say there must be something you're hiding.
So in that case, what will be the consequence?
The consequence is that you close your business. You
or,
will be
or you
wound
find
up.
the money and paid.
No, you will be sold, you'll be auctioned. So many people are saying, if this is the biashara that you think I'm making all this amount of money, and you are harassing me for it, I'll close it, I'll send everybody home, let me remain without this biashara.
Okay.
In any case, that is it. Now, when you go out of that level, go to what is happening to ordinary people. 2 weeks ago, a young man called Duati is invited by an MCA at Kiganjo to be given a stall where he can start doing selling burgers and the rest. And all of a sudden, members of parliament show up and he is shot dead. 26-year-old young man who had left Kinagop, a place called Kahuho, came to Nairobi to try and make ends meet. But the borders are not making any profit. So he decides to try the Mambo ya Mama Mboga. And when he's there, members of parliament come and open fire, and one of them is killed, the other one is left at Kenyatta National Hospital. To date, no arrests, nothing is being done, nothing is being said. The people you elected you are shooting you dead. It sets a lot of fear in the minds of people.
Okay.
I went to that home, and they had actually said, tutachukua hii mwili, we'll send it to the mother, we bury it, we do not know what else.
Okay.
The body was supposed to have been 2 days ago, no, yesterday, but they postponed because we said, you cannot bury this body until we are certain that there will be justice for Duati.
Okay.
And that is just one isolated incident. Look at the demolitions that are going on now. Gikomba, Kariobangi, Embakasi, Dadora, Mathare. What are they being told? You need to move from the river by 30 meters. But it is only after you've gone into Kijambe area, Kikomba. That is the area that they are measuring 30 meters. But if you go to Museum Hill, the expressway itself is within the 30 meters. Chiromo campus within the 30 meters. Aboletam, Boulevard Hotel, high-rise buildings, up market. Those are also, there is nothing being done there. But when you come to these poor Kenyans, the so-called hustlers,
Why do you think that is not happening? What is your reason behind it?
One is that it is open harassment. These are still the areas that we have a lot of Kikuyus who are doing, Mount Kenya people who are doing businesses. We have a meeting with them tomorrow. We also had a lot of people from Mukabani who are hit at Kamukuji area. We went there. But if you go through all these areas, it's a scheme. It is they are taking advantage of the floods to do what they always wanted to do. I can assure you, and we will be addressing this thing tomorrow, they have something they want to do with the land that they are evicting these people from.
They have made it clear that this will be for affordable housing. I mean, it's not hidden, and they will be given first priority when the houses are ready.
And this is the only area that is available for affordable housing?
But what is wrong
Why are
with
they
it?
not doing it elsewhere?
What is wrong with it? Point to us, forget about other areas that have open fields. Point to us the problem with starting from the areas that you've mentioned that are within the capital or within Nairobi, that there's so many informal settlements that you would like to upgrade, because the president
There is a difference
10 years,
between upgrading of informal settlement, and we have done these things before. Dadora, Umoja, all those estates were done as part of informal upgrading. And I can tell you I was involved in some of those estates. But you do not leave somebody out in the cold
you don't
without
give them an option.
alternative accommodation
Is that
with children and then say that you are creating affordable housing. Two, this affordable housing concept is one that Kenyans are still fighting with. They have not quite accepted what is it that is being done. You are taking land from the public, giving it to a private investor, giving him money that you have cut from my salary, making him do the houses, and then you sell the houses to us. One, I don't believe that that is the reason why they are kicking out people from Kikomba.
Okay.
And that Kikomba is, and tomorrow you we invite you to come and see. It's not even the issue of housing. They have said they want to create, what is it called? A fire station. A fire station for the people of Gikomba because of the very frequent
fires.
But then they have again evicted the people who are there. So you have created a fire station for who? Na wale wote mwefukuza. There's something sinister there. There was even the issue of titling in Gikomba. And if you go there, you will hear the stories. All this block of land belonged to who? Now the title has been issued to one person whom they do not know.
Explain to me.
And I'm not saying that it is only in Gikomba.
Yes.
I'm saying it is all along that area.
Okay.
When they went to the US, I wish they spent some time to see how the rivers have been treated. How they have been,
I get you, leader.
Channeled.
I get you, leader. But now, tell us what exactly is going to happen to this land.
They will tell us, but I also wanted to, I want to tell you what the other issue is.
Because
let me tell you the issue of fear.
What they intend to
do.
But
let me tell you the issue of fear. During the Jubilee government, this same clique went to Gikomba, Liver Road, Kirinyaga, and told them, your businesses are being collapsed by Uhuru for XYZ. The people there were waiting for better policies that would help them do better businesses. What has been occasioned to them now? Demolitions. And that is on top of the very punitive taxation measures that made it impossible for them to import for those who are importing things from China and elsewhere. They are not even hawking those things that they were hawking because they are being hawked by even foreigners in this country. And I can tell you, you look at, and it was a chain. So when you hit Gikomba, you hit a person in Eldoret. When you hit Gikomba, a person in Nyeri, a person, all those Narok, Kajiado. So a total collapse of that whole network.
So in a nutshell,
the other one,
in a nutshell, I know because we have several things to talk about.
But I wanted to say this before you go to the nutshell. Still the same regime. They come on occasion terror on our old ladies. 82-year-old, you saw us in Muranga. And they called them Mogeki, they threw them in dungeons. Why? They were doing a cultural, they were actually just playing the way Kikuyus perhaps used to play during those old days. And you are just playing, this is a Mogeki grouping, all of them put in, and they were in for a whole month, from the 31st of December all the way to the end of January of this year. We turn this other side, you go to Dafivi, 100,000 people, all of a sudden somebody wakes up and says, by the way, I have actually been holding that, I know that I have the title of this land. You are strangers, you need to move out. And we can go through a litany of these issues.
Okay.
And again, let me even say, because I've seen somebody saying they have stretched the budget on some people's offices so that they can fight illicit brew. You come up and say you are fighting drugs and alcohol and the rest, and you close down a whole ecosystem of a community. So, in a very indiscriminate manner, all these measures help to make people fearful.
Okay.
And for that reason, you start coming together. Because you now need to preserve yourself. How do we deal with this thing that we no longer understand? And I can tell you, it is not normal business anymore.
So it's actually true, according to your statement, that Limuru 3 was all about an ethnic gain.
If the taxation measures that are hurting us are not hurting other people in the country, then it's an ethnic gain. If the children who are now not going to school are only affected in the Mount Kenya region area, then it is ethnic. If the threats that we are seeing, if those demolitions are not just for Kikuyus, then it's ethnic. The issues that took us to Limuru are issues that have hit us very hard, but are issues that also affect every other community in this country. So any person who says that Limuru is a tribal grouping, I think is somebody is something. It was a community, but what did you want us to do? To go and meet in Kisumu or Kakamega? I would have to, if I'm calling a meeting of the family of Kioni, I'll call it within the family of Kioni. I'm not going to call it in Ochieng's house. If I'm calling the community of Daragwa, I call it within Daragwa. If it's a community of Mount Kenya, I call it within Mount Kenya. If it's a community of Kakamega, I'll call it within Kakamega. So this is a very poor way of thinking, and I keep saying it's really it's like you're really lacking something in between the ears when you go that route. And in any case, even if you wanted to go that route, even our constitution recognizes that this country called Kenya is made up of ethnic groups. These ethnic groups have representation in Bunge, in the National Assembly, in Senate, in county assemblies. And those people go to represent the issues that come from their areas. For you to know the issues that you need to take to those assemblies, you will need to meet your people.
Okay.
So that is one. But let me just say this. What we are now doing is there is solutions that we came up with at Limuru. We will be taking them. We will be taking them to other areas for those who would want to join and think and see the thinking that was there. The issues are not exclusive to the mountain, but we have taken the lead in bringing people together. I am certain I've heard they want to have Bukugu 3 or something. So when they do that, don't say this is a tribal thinking. Let them have their meeting. In the case the other day, they met with Musaria, and they were only Ruyas. I didn't hear any one of you saying that they were just... I saw Ruto giving food at the end of the year at Sugoi. I think he was just giving.
But none of those...
I went to
none
Turkana.
Of those groupings, leader, none of those groupings came up to endorse a leader and say we have a new coalition, a new outfit, and our leader is the former president, the ones you've mentioned.
And
so you went there to install...
What is wrong, let me say this, what is wrong with a community organizing itself the best way they know how?
At this time?
Yes, at any time. The Constitution allows us as a country to organize ourselves.
The problem is
every 5 years.
Timing. The problem is suspect timing.
Remember?
Because you have painted the picture of the fear. Remember, you've taken about 5 minutes just to explain the fear. Then you say, as a result of that fear, people came together when Limuru 3 was convened. And then at the Limuru 3, where issues brought people together, you decide, we have a leader, and it's called, he will lead a coalition called Haki Coalition, or Usawa Coalition, if I'm not wrong.
No. It's called Haki.
Haki,
and
yes.
I'll try and
look at it.
I'll help you.
The timing, the agenda, and the result, and the resolution, suspect, stinks to high heaven.
It can stink. The question of where your heaven is. You remember we were told, nikiweka Biblia chini, so all these things are also suspect.
Yeah.
But remember, build up to 2022 elections. We, as a community, within the mountain, there was an onslaught on us. Culturally, politically, you can now see economically, and we needed to get our house in order. We have never been scattered this way before. Even during Moi's time, he was respectful of us as a community. He was respectful of the cultural arrangement. And what happened? We saw young people insult their mothers, their fathers, insult their leaders, completely, even and insult people from the pulpit. These are issues we needed to set right so that we can again start confronting this animal that is now on us, a real disaster that is coming to us. So when you saw us saying, we now need to know, in the event that we need to be called together, who is this person who is outside the political flare, who can be able to call people together? Not to lead them, but to get them to get together.
And remarkably, that was the former president.
Without doubt, and it is a gift from God to us. Other communities have their own. They are not complaining. We had Kibaki before. They had Moi. They had Raila Odinga. They had Jaramogi Oginga. There was Mariro, Masinde Mariro. I mean, there's Gara. All communities have been there. So I do not understand why you are so fearful of us mentioning Uhuru Kenyatta. The fear that was sold to our people before 2022, and those false claims that were made have now come to pass. He cautioned us against many of the things that we are now seeing. And I want to tell you this.
When you say he cautioned, that was the former president?
Yes, Uhuru did.
Okay.
And he didn't caution us because he was telling us to be careful as a community, because we are part of this country. And each one of us, we know the track record of one another, and especially when you have worked together. So saying, please be careful. We threw words at him. We insulted him. Eventually, we went and insulted our mother. That is something we needed to deal with as a community. And if we dealt with it, stop being envious. Deal with yours also. And we have no apologies to make.
Okay.
The community wanted to say sorry to Uhuru because of what we did. And also we needed to get ourselves in some order so that we can be able to confront this disaster. Look at what is being done within UDA, and I don't want to get in there. But I want to say this, I can tell you what they are trying to do. They would want to divide us as much as they can.
Who is us?
Divide Mount Kenya region.
Mount Kenya. Okay.
Divide and rule. There will be somebody brought up in Kirinyaga, another one in Laikipia, another one in Murang'a, another one in Nakuru, another one in Nyeri. Eventually, it is to ensure that this block stop thinking together. What we did at Limuru, we said, there is no problem with us being in all these political parties.
I'll get back
but
to
we will come under one umbrella and agree on the issues that affect us, and we now agree to be driven by issues and not the issues of who is who.
I'll get back to that.
Yes.
Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah sat here, and one of the questions that I asked him is if he will be attending Limuru 3. And he dismissed and said he cannot attend a tribal grouping. He is from your community.
We have another tribal meeting that is going to be called Limuru 3 Murang'a, Limuru 3 Meru, Limuru 3 Nakuru, Limuru 3 Kiabu. Let him not attend. He will try to catch up. He will not be able. If those are tribal meetings, so be it.
Okay.
But we are going to have them going for, and this is the other thing. So that nobody said he was not invited, there was no special invitation.
No one got an invite on mail?
Nobody.
No one got on mail?
It was coming through the social media and everybody else.
Okay. You've mentioned
what we did is that the delegates, the so-called delegates, would be known ahead of time.
Okay.
But nobody was being invited in a special manner. Yes.
You mentioned one of the reasons why that meeting was necessary, it was convened, was to apologize for the former president.
One of them.
One
of the issues.
To apologize to the former president. Pre-2022, there's a lot of things that happened. In fact, one of the things that I was told on this table is we refused a rallying call from a sitting president. Who else do you think we can go against, right? If a sitting president, we could defy what he told us. But my question is this.
Now, we have learned the hard way.
From that.
Defying.
The question is, there's so many people. Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, the other day said, I cannot fight my sister. I cannot fight my brother, right? He apologized during a radio station interview to the former president. I've had a few other members of parliament apologizing to the former president, especially the ones who've been very vocal. How is the former president taking these apologies? And have they got to him, or there are things in the media?
Well, when you put things in the media, they get to everybody. And the question that one would want to ask is, if you think it is necessary to apologize through the media, that is enough for you. I mean, that is your choice. If you think there's a better way of doing it, that's another thing. These apologies are going to come, and there will be many, for the reason that people are now embarrassed for the things they said, the things they did, and the things they refused to hear.
What was the realization? I'm tempted to ask, when did they realize, but continue?
That one, the realization comes when the masses start saying, Allah, kube wewe ndio ulikuwa muongo.
Okay. So, has he received...
Two.
Yeah.
Alafu wanasema, Allah, kube huyu ndio alifanya nyinyi muwe waongo. That is now the worst. And I tell you, that is our only concern. When these young people say they are sorry and the rest, how we deal with the people, your son and your children who come back home saying they are sorry, that is your business as a parent. You ni yako.
Okay.
how we deal with it, that
When
is
your
another
children say,
thing. When people have woken up and realized that the route we were following is the wrong one,
And more often
that
than
is
not,
more
you will
important.
you'll forgive your children. More
Yes,
often than
and
not.
what
If
the
I come and
and the
apologize.
responsibility you give thereafter is perhaps different from the one you would have given before the
the
child went wrong. But again, I say those are internal things. But you cannot, even in the Bible, when you talk about the prodigal son, he wasn't kicked out. He was brought
Embraced when
in,
he
come,
came.
kuja nani. And you can lead the story and talk to the theologian, you see the difference between him and the other sons. But what is important is that those are now the quarrels. And if you think that you are going to benefit from the insults that were hurled to each one of us during the campaigns, that we are going to take it and say to hell for the blah, 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 the rest, that is, you will have lost it. We are concerned more of the issues that are now coming towards us as a community that can actually, completely enslave a community.
Okay.
Those are the issues that we would want to
You'll
have
talk
on the
about-
table.
You'll talk about those issues, and
But
I'll give you
I
the
don't want to say
opportunity.
the issues, but I want to say this.
Yeah.
But we are also very concerned about this person who made that son insult the father. That's an issue. That is a very different thing. As you deal with your son who insulted you, you also want to tell the mzee who made your son insult you, why on earth would you want to mislead young people into this kind of a thing?
Okay.
Why on earth would you want to get a community in disarray? That is where the issue is, and that is what is informing the quarrels in UDA.
Tell me, is the former president and his family, I know you are very close to them, are they able to get past that for the sake of what you're talking about? Or that's a question you cannot answer on their
No,
behalf?
you see, I would want them to answer that, but I can say something.
Yeah.
The Uhuru I know, and the Mamagana I've seen, are people with a big heart. So big that you cannot say anything else. I remember one time when I was at Katondo, and there we were faced with the ICC Maneno. Yes? Uhuru was heading to ICC. Ruto was heading to ICC. And Mama Gina came and placed his hands on Uhuru and on Ruto. And many people were asking, what is Mama Gina doing? Her hands on Ruto after the 2007 killings, tribal crashes. But that was it. That was enough to tell you that there are people who know and who understand that there are issues that are bigger than, some of these personal things. And I'm not saying that it uniforms us in the way we go, but I'm trying to tell you this. We are focused on the bigger threat.
Which is the well-being of
the community, politically, socially, economically, culturally, and even spiritually. Okay. Our madhabahu, our churches were used to insult leadership in our area, to make people insult one another, to create hatred among families. That is what is our concern, and that's what we want to heal as we deal with the other issues that are coming our way.
How many elected leaders were at Limuru 3?
One. There were three.
Is that
we
not
had
an indictment?
Wamushomba. No. We had Wamushomba, we had Mwago, and we had Mheshimiwa Mwenje.
Mwenje, yes.
Three were there.
Out of?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
If you now think that the direction the community takes is the one that is being taken by the leaders who are elected, you will miss it.
How?
You saw them come. Those who came because the Wananchi had organized the meeting for them. And I want to say this, so that and I can come back here. Remain in UDA. Come and look for a vote with the UDA ticket in Mount Kenya, whatever time the elections will be, 2027 or earlier or whatever, and let us see. That is when you realize that, you see, there is a misconception that we have had, including myself, perhaps when I was elected, is that when you are elected, you even become the boss of even the party that elected you. You are the boss of the people who elected you. It's no longer that way.
You're not the people's boss.
The people remain the boss. when they called the Limuru, without any elected leader peeling apart, they were all there. And there were more than the numbers that had been invited. The voice is clear. We are going to those counties, and we are not going as leaders, and we are not going to endorse any of us to become a presidential candidate within Mount Kenya. If you have that ambition, stay away from the meetings we are organizing. This is for purposes of getting the community back in order and having our issues in front of the interests of individuals.
Tell me, was it
so
not,
that the money that has been now, the money that is being stolen from the system, because there's a lot of stealing that is going on, will not have an effect when it comes to picking leaders come 2027.
The next election.
And if you want to know the money will not have an effect, it did not have an effect in the Limuru 3. Watu walitumia jina, a name that we say in Kikuyu, kujituma, wetuma, kujituma. Tujitume, we save the society, the community.
Optics are important. Perception is important. When the optics were not right on one end, on the other end, the massive crowd, the kind of people who attended, was right. But the optics and perception on the other end, 3 out of 70 elected leaders attended Limuru 3. I mean, it's an indictment.
They would not have come because many of those elected are the people who even passed the finance bill 2023-24. They are the people who went against the wishes of the people.
And that was one of the things on the table.
And it was on the table. It is actually the one that is informing where we are going. Look at what the proposed bill that is there. The continued darling with those in power.
So they wouldn't have come.
And we even told somebody said I will come and say, and I will not be, don't hold me responsible, just in case you are dragged out from that podium. Kwa sababu tupatia nafasi uongee, lakini ukitolewa pale kwa nguvu, usiniulize mimi. They were fearful of the people. Nobody was blocked.
Don't you think then the organizers, by putting this as an agenda on the table, was sort of subtly inciting the people who have been pushed to the corner against the elected leaders who they don't see to be with them anymore?
But what business do I have in life if I cannot feed my child? What business do I have in life if I cannot take my child to school? What joy will I be having to have you speak Pale Bele and you are the one responsible for the difficulties my child is going through?
So it doesn't matter the range that was pulled?
If the issues that push the community are such that they cannot allow you to speak, so be it.
So it doesn't matter the range that was pulled.
If you are coming,
that is what you're telling me.
Let me now ask you, Ken.
Yes.
If after shooting this young man in Thika, you know, these leaders in Mount Kenya have not understood how bitter people are. Shooting a 26-year-old young man with a wewe mwenyewe na umechaguliwa, unatoa buduki, unampiga risasi akitoroka. He's not even confronting you. The post-mortem report confirmed that the bullet was from behind, out from the front. You think people will wait for you to come and they say ati amekuja, kupigani makofi, amekuja. This is not that Kenya of yesterday.
How many are elected and they have cases in court pending because of such acts? I mean,
it always gets to a point where it gets to a boiling point, and that is where that community is.
The leadership that you gave former president to steer the community as a convener, if I get you right, someone who can speak for the community, are you effectively returning the former president to national politics?
Remember, it was a question that we posed to the community, and the community itself answered by saying, who is it? There's something called Mudegi. I don't know any. No. Mudegi is really a symbolic, it's a symbol of authority that is given to you by a community, the Kikuyu community. And once you are given that symbol, by the way, it is never taken away from you. If another person qualifies, he's also given another one.
Okay.
So there was already a misconception that we can take this symbol from Uhuru and you go with it because you are X, Y, and Z. That needed to be settled. And also people made to understand, and especially the young people, how is this given to a person? That was very important. And the question was, who has it now? And everybody said, Uhuru. So that was not, it was not anything else. It was also educating the community on how the culture organizes ourselves, or how we used to organize ourselves culturally. When we talked about forming a coalition, the Haki Coalition, the question that we ask ourselves as leaders of political parties ahead of the sitting is, who is it that who can be able to convene us, not as our leader, but who can call us together in a room and leave us fighting over the issues that needs to be put on the table, any other table that we, and we still have the respect
of all the leaders. And you only found Uhuru Kenyatta.
Even the audience said Uhuru Kenyatta.
Not
so we are not
Rigathi
saying
Gachagua.
Rigathi Gachagua will be allowed to play politics with everybody else.
Okay.
Come, we compete.
If he wants Mudhegi.
Mudhegi, he has gotten one, watu wa Nyeri watasema ni aina gani walimpatia. Sababu they could have given him another one.
When he was,
inaweza kuwa namna hiyo. But the one we are talking about on top of everybody, ahead of everybody else, the was confirmed that it is with Uhuru. By the way, you may not know. Kibaki did not even have it.
It was never given to Kibaki.
Kibaki didn't have what Uhuru has.
Who
he
had
was
it
the
then?
president.
Who had it then?
You need to talk to the Wazers, they'll give you the story.
But who had it?
See, because the issue, the way you get it is not by because you become a president, you are being elected.
You must have earned the stripes. You must earn your stripes.
You have to earn it.
You must
and
earn
as
it.
this told me last night, the exam that you have to pass is up there.
Okay.
And it is not upon them to bring the examination standard drawer so that you can pass. It is upon you to climb up where it is.
Okay.
And so these are, it is not that we pulled Uhuru back into any politics. No. He's actually now playing
his position
as an elder of the community.
Did he accept it?
We will be going to see him when he gives us an opportunity to do that.
He's in South Africa right now.
When he is back, I'm sure he will get an opportunity to do that. But I have not had him reject, because these are also not, they are not, these are respectful positions.
Okay.
They are honorary things, you know, and he also has a responsibility, by the way, not just to the Mount Kenya community, but he has a responsibility to this country.
Okay.
There's no way you will see Uhuru and Lyra allow the country to go to the dogs while they are there. Any responsible person in State House will also need to reach out to them if he thinks they can be useful.
Okay.
But and even if he doesn't, for example, if we were to get ourselves into a known calamity, the individuals who will be looking upon to guide us will be who? They will be in the rights of former president, former prime minister. So some of these things you can also not decline.
Senior citizens.
It's an expected responsibility.
How does this act and this resolution affects the former president's benefits under the Retirement Benefits Act?
Anything that tries to stop you from or denies you the freedom of association, freedom of expression, is unconstitutional. Any provision in any statute that would want to limit that right is unconstitutional. And I believe that some of those sections in some of the statutes that people have been citing were declared as such by the constitutional courts. So and in any case, if you were to use the past examples, he has been a president when we had two former presidents who are alive, Mwai Kibaki and President Moi. He never went out of his way to limit their freedoms in any way. They may have chosen to keep quiet. But I remember at one time we were with President Kibaki when he was campaigning for Governor Derito in Laikipia. That he wasn't denied any of the payments that are due either to him or those who are working with him, as is the case today, because I can confirm to you that some of the payments that are supposed to be done by the state for people who allowed President Uhuru, former president, are not being paid. He's paying from his pocket, which is really unnecessary harassment, if you ask me.
I see a lot of it. Seems you sent people on my timeline today.
What?
It seems you sent them to my timeline because of what they're saying. Because they're talking a lot about we should now hold Kisumu and all that. Says there's a lot that is being said. But when will ever this conversation, Kioni, become about just the people and the benefits that the people get from this leadership?
That is why we say haki. Ni haki yako. kupeleka mtoto shule na mtoto kulipiwa shule. Ni haki yako kupata matibabu ambayo inafaa. That is a haki coalition. It is not a Mount Kenya haki. It is a haki for every Kenyan. And by the way, when you say, when we say one man, one vote, one shilling, it is not one Kikuyu, it's one Kenyan. One Kenyan, one vote, one shilling. So when you hear somebody saying that it is a Mount Kenya Gema thing, just let him continue that thinking. By the way, if we were to implement that kind of a policy, let me tell you, one of the counties that will benefit like that is Madera and Galiza. They have higher populations than Nyandarua, and some of them even than the Kirinyaga and Embu, Bugoma, Kakamega, Kilifi. These are areas that will quickly benefit. But people want to, discuss this whole thing in such a narrow manner. But we are saying, if we have 10 children in this hospital, it's just like where I'm saying, I don't know how many wives you have, I think
I should have 4.
That's okay. When you get 4,
yes,
and one has 5 children,
yes,
the other one has 3 children, ule akona watoto watano, utampatia chakula ya watoto watatu.
How?
One man, one vote, one shilling. That's the same principle. Take the money to where people are. If they are in
you agree with the
Mandera,
formula?
take them to Mandera.
So you agree with the formula
of
one man, one shilling?
Totally. I have said this before. Even 2016, I was on this. During the 2010 Constitution, I was on this. And it is not, it is the only way. It's the fair thing. Let me tell you. There are times you'll be given an opportunity, like now somebody will say that you are the one in charge of Kenya Revenue Authority. So you are going to get people from your community employed. Go to the details of how these people are behaving. When you think it is a community being employed, it's not a community. It is a village. People narrow themselves to just the village they come from. So how do you save everybody else other than just people from that community? Go to that formula so that we stop narrowing ourselves to just the people who come around you.
But don't you think...
Where every Kenyan is a Kenyan.
But don't you think... I agree with you. I agree with you. When you work on the population data for the last census, 2019, right? If you look at the communities with the highest number of people, and then hear this rallying call on one man, one vote, one shilling, right? It means these communities, as per the last census, and you'll start with central Kenya, you go to western, right? Then you go to Luya, western, then you go to Nyanza, right? If you look at how this money will be spread, Central still benefit. So, Danson Mungatana...
No, Central does not benefit.
In terms of numbers...
People.
But the people...
People get what is entitled to them.
Which
forget
means
about the region. Forget about the region.
But you can't...
You are taking money to a children.
You can't draw the line.
To a child.
Yes.
And that child requires education, requires medication.
I agree, but you can't draw that line.
So why deny that child medication because you want to have excess medicine in another dispensary somewhere there are no people and the medicine is not being used?
I understand what you're saying, but you can't draw the line. So let's use what Danson Mungatana, for example, said. One man, one shilling, 1 kilometer. So it means the places that need more development, money goes. You will say, but how?
That's okay. Let me tell you, and it's good to have this debate. There are those other people who are saying, one man, one vote, one jembe. You can put anything you want to put there. Let's have this debate. Eventually, let us have this debate. It's very important for us to have this debate. Because what we are doing is to hide under things. Remember, in our constitution, we also provided for equalization fund. Equalization fund is supposed to be used to bring to speed regions that have otherwise been left behind in terms of infrastructure development. And those regions that are still perhaps benefiting because of the skewed allocation of resources are still the ones taking the equalization fund. Let's have this debate. And you hear somebody trying to say it's belonging to a region, is a person who still wants to look at that child and that child as different.
I just think you want to have your cake and eat it.
It is difficult to have that because if I have my cake and eat it, na mtoto wangu aende shule apate ile shilingi moja na wako apate, I am
That's
happy.
Okay.
That's okay. I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah, because and I want to tell you, it is the only way to get resources even to those very poor areas. Remember, some of these regions,
yes,
that also even seems to be benefiting from the skewed allocation of resources, you still cannot see any development on the ground. There is nothing equivalent to the amount of money that has gone to those regions to date. So there's a problem. There's another problem that needs to be dealt with.
Even if you gave them money...
No, there's another issue that needs to be sorted out differently.
Mm-hmm.
How have they utilized all these resources
already
over the time?
Okay.
Yes, but that's a different topic.
Okay.
The issues of revenue allocation and resource allocation, we need to have this debate.
It should be a debate.
Yes.
As we end, I need to ask you this. I know we began with it at 9. I asked that question, and I really like to settle it once more. With all these things that we have seen that are happening in the country, there seems to be trouble in paradise, and this is the UDA paradise. There seems to be a finance bill that is very unpopular. I'll say unpopular because of the number of presentations, including Vimalsha, including the Law Society of Kenya, including civil societies, including religious leaders. That's why I would say the one unpopular, because they have identified clauses in there that they think are unfavorable, and they push it. For example, LSK says that this bill will be very punitive to the low-income earners than never before. Then there is that trouble in paradise. I mean, at what point will we ever be able to level up the discussion that we're not dealing with something that distracts us from the main issue? Kioni?
If the trouble in paradise would resort into a defeat of the finance bill, then it is good trouble. I mean, you see, and I don't think the trouble started because of the finance bill, but I see them weighing on the finance bill because of the disagreements within UDA. But it is not, if you look at it from another angle, you do not want the executive to be too comfortable. Not in terms of fighting, but when they have no opposition. Remember, they started by dismantling the opposition from outside. So if the opposition would come from within for the benefit of Kenyans, so be it. There is no executive that can function properly for the benefit of people without opposition. And that is why we are still in court as Azimio, because what William did was to dismantle Azimio's majority in Parliament. We have a case that is not a good case for those in the executive that is seeking to recognize Azimio as the majority party. As per the Kenya Gazette that declared William the president. If it declared him the president, and it also declared Azimio the majority party, why Wetangula found it within his sincere thinking that he can change the majority on the floor and make UDA majority and not Azimio, he has to tell the court. And if that case was to go through, then even this finance bill would have been prepared by Azimio. They are the majority party. As per our provision, they are the ones who would be controlling the agenda on the floor. And that would have benefited Kenyans more as opposed to where we are today, where you have the executive dictating upon Parliament, taking Parliament over completely, and having the worst kind of a Parliament that we have ever seen since 1963. We would be able to check the executive. And it is very important that that happens. And Kenyans need to know, when you have an executive that is not in control of Parliament, the populace start to benefit more.
It happened in
But
2007.
when you have the executive in total control of the Parliament, and you think that is when you are helping the president, you suffer the kind of things we are now suffering. Because hajali, that is why you tell you mambo ni matatu. Uhame Kenya hii, nikuweke jera, ama nikuweke biguni mapema. A president you have voted for, threatening him with death, and nobody thinks of impeaching him on the floor of the House, we are in a disaster.
Endgame for you.
Preserve the gains we've made since 2010. Preserve the gains we have made since 1963. Let's hold as much as we can until the 3 years are over. Expect zero movement from UDA. My brother.
What do you mean zero movement?
The projects that we are now seeing today with all this heavy taxation, ni gani? Saa ya milioni 50, kiatu 160, mchipi 460,000. Those are the projects. Those are the projects we are seeing. After having borrowed over almost 5 trillion shillings now, in less than 2 years. And you want to tell me there's nothing we expect in 3 years? We can only preserve. Hit the button, preservation mode. Resist. Let us come together as Kenyans and resist the oppression that is coming here. I have no hope that there is any project that will come.
We want to play the video of the week. When we come back, I'll ask you one question, then we end. Is it all doom and gloom? But first, let's play the video of the week. Let's know the video of the week. Yeah.
I put a question that Kilo 3 be recommitted as proposed by Honorable Semuju. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The nays have it.
Yeah. Can I repeat that video, Mheshimiwa? Can I repeat that video? Do I repeat that video one more time?
I put a question that Kilo 3 be recommitted as proposed by Honorable Semuju. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The nays have it.
What's going on in that video? That's Uganda Parliament. You know what it reminded me of when I saw this video? I think you're in Parliament then, representing Daragwa, when Honorable Soipan Tuya presided over Parliament, the security laws. Oh, such a thing.
Yeah, and these are I think it's part of the training that is done to the speakership. And it is when you want to drive things the executive way.
Force things the executive way.
But you have, when you have a strong opposition, that will not happen. What happens when you have a strong and sensible opposition on the floor, you force a consensus ahead of the voting, ahead of the bill. So people sit together and agree, if you want us to allow it to pass, this and this, we give and take. And that is part of the reason why it is a National Assembly, where debates are held. But when you want to force it down the throat, you have to look very awkward.
And they do.
And they
all right.
do. Yes.
As I let you go, is it all gloom and doom?
No. When we called Limuru 3 and I saw the spirit people have and the way they came, I knew there was hope. We need to come together and push back. Remember, Parliament must always remember. Even when they have decided to sell their souls, like those who are selling Jubilee, that they are always the last line of defense. But if that has failed, Kenyans can still resist, and we need to come together and resist. And that was the beginning of it at Limuru 3. And that is the meaning of the haki. We must go for our justice, haki ni yetu. And then we will be reaching out from tomorrow to those who are like-minded across other regions, so that we can come together and resist this oppression that has been occasioned on us by the KKK.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to play a story, but as we wait for that story to be ready, tell me, today, Governor Sakaja went on rampage. What went on? What was happening there?
But you know also, there was a time he had, Gachagua had his day. You know, there was a time he did worked on Sakaja.
Oh, the certificate.
Yeah, the certificate
the day they were talking
and
about.
There was another time he went on him on this Kikuyus in Nairobi and the rest and all those things. The tide was up against Sakaja. I believe that even within UDA, there was a time they thought they could do away with him.
With
But
Sakaja.
now he's gotten back in control. I think he's gotten the ear of those who matter within UDA, and he feels like he can unleash it on any other person who had tried it on him. But I think behind the scenes, the person who will always keep Sakaja there, it's not UDA. It is the Azimio majority on the floor of the Nairobi County Assembly.
Okay.
And that's how it is supposed to work. The County Assembly of Nairobi is controlled by Azimio. Sakaja has done many awkward things, but they have been able to withhold a number of things. We were having a meeting with them last week, and they can demonstrate to you what they have been able to achieve. He's not able to quite move without calling the speaker, so that they can be able to negotiate, talk about things.
Because of the checks and balances.
But they should not negotiate corrupt deals. They should negotiate on checks and balances.
Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, thank you so much for coming.
Nashukuru
A lot to think
sana.
about tonight. And I think the general picture, or the bigger picture tonight, is the interest of the nation.
More.
I'm looking forward to Buhungu 3,
Or Machakos 1.
Machakos 1, Kisumu 10.
And never try and do it like the other communities do it. Do it your own way. If you try and copy any other community,
Maybe it will
you
not
will
work.
fail.
Okay.
Yes.
Jeremiah Kioni, Secretary General, Jubilee Party, looking forward. I'd like to see when the retired president comes back, if he will accept this call, or he will say, hey, mimi nimeenda nyumbani sasa mnataka nirudi tena.
But you know silence also. It's another way of saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
It
so-
could also mean, saying yes is
Very well.
easy. If you don't need to say no, you will keep quiet, so that people are kept guessing. But thank you so much for coming tonight. Looking forward to another discussion with you. This has been eye-opening. Let's now move on to the story I have been speaking about. This is about Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, who has reignited his war of words with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him